Have you ever gotten up, ready to face another day and go to work, and thought to yourself, good Lord, I hate this job? Sometimes you may wish you were somewhere else, anywhere else, to be real honest, because a job that you're working at, that you may have enjoyed at one point in time, has just become untenable. You no longer enjoy the work. You no longer enjoy your coworkers. You no longer enjoy the other people you come into contact with, and you definitely may not enjoy your boss. For whatever reason, the time has come when you are sick of that 9 to 5. Now, if you work for yourself at home, a time also may come when you look at what particular job you're doing at home and you realize, this doesn't fit me anymore. This is not what I want to do, and you're ready to pivot and do something else. When the time comes that we decide it is time for us to either move on to another job or to pivot if we're working from home, there frequently are 9 particular fears that may keep us trapped in a job or in a career at home that we hate. Let's take a look at each one. Hi, if we've not met before, I'm Shelley from Taming Frenzy. These limiting beliefs, these fears, they keep us trapped. They keep us from acting in our own best interest because we're simply afraid. We have told ourselves something so many times that we have convinced ourselves that this limiting belief is true. But that is not always the case. When we're ready to change jobs or switch and do something else, these are some of the most common limiting beliefs that I have dealt with myself and that have affected other people as I have talked to them through the years. Limiting belief number 1 is this: I just don't have time to look for another job. Okay, I get it. If you are working outside the home, if you're going to a 9 to 5 or whatever the hours are, you're already busy. And let's face it, we all only have 168 hours in a week. And if you're working a full-time job or a full-time job or 2, your time is limited. You do not have unlimited time to go look for something else. That's true. I'll grant you that because you are correct. Time is precious and it is a limited resource. However, just because time is a limited resource does not give us an excuse to tell ourselves that I have no time to look for a job. It may be true that you don't have as much time or that you have limited time, but you do have some time. And if you're stuck in a job that you hate, the best thing you can do is make use of pockets of time. Perhaps a smart thing to do, instead of taking a lunch break and going out with some colleagues or go into the break room and eating your sandwich, would be to get on your phone. Don't get on a work computer, but get on your phone and go searching for other job possibilities. When you come home in the evening, instead of just flopping down on a couch, which is all too easy, and I've been there, so I understand that, but maybe the thing to do is to have your dinner, do a little something to refresh, and then to get on your computer and start looking at what other possibilities are. You may have limited time, but that doesn't mean that you absolutely have no time. And if you are unhappy enough, you will make time to look for another job. Sometimes it takes us being really unhappy and being really miserable for us to get off the duff and do the work that we need to do so that we can make a positive change into something else. A second limiting belief is this: well, I'm just not trained or qualified to do anything else. Well, okay. Maybe you don't have a certain amount of training, or maybe you don't have a certain piece of paper that says you're trained or qualified to do something. But you know what? When you started the job you have now, I imagine the odds are good that you had to learn some new things, right? Most of us don't go straight from either high school or college or graduate program or whatever it be and just walk into a job and automatically know how to do everything. We may have the skills to be able to learn the things we have to do, but we probably don't know all of those things until we are taught. Fortunately, we do have the ability to learn new things. If you keep telling yourself that you're not qualified to do something, maybe you need to ask yourself a question, and the question is, why do I keep telling myself that same old lie? You're smart, you're intelligent, you're trainable, you've learned new things before, so we know you can do it. Why do you keep yourself trapped by buying into the fact that you just don't have what it takes to learn how to do something new? Give yourself some credit. You've already proven that you can be taught how to do new things. All you got to do is apply yourself and have a little confidence. A third limiting belief is this one. Nobody's going to want to hire me. I'm too old. I'm too unqualified. I'm too, whatever it be. We can tell ourselves all kinds of things, but it all basically comes down to the fact that we don't believe somebody else is going to want to hire us. And that comes from this fear that we're not good enough, or we are playing the comparison game. And sometimes when we're stuck in a job we hate, it's because we don't like the boss we've got. And maybe that boss has beaten us down a little bit and made us believe that nobody else would put up with this nonsense from you. You're lucky I do. This kind of stuff, which is just a form of bullying and abuse, to be real honest. But there's somebody out there who's going to be looking for someone with your skills and your talent and your ability. Do not let yourself believe that no one else will ever hire you. Somebody hired you in the first place, right? Belief number 4, and I think this is more common among those of us who are a little older of a certain age, and that is this belief that, job hopping will look bad on my resume. Now, I have grown adult kids, and they don't have this limiting belief at all. I think this is something that was taught to those of us who are my age, which I'm not going to reveal. Anyway, what the heck. I think that is something that was taught to those of us who are older. And we were taught that you get a job, you stay with it for a long time, and that just job hopping and going from one job to the next, it makes you look flaky and flighty and irresponsible and not serious. It looks bad on you. The younger folks today, they've got the right idea. It really doesn't. There is no reason to stay at a job you hate just because you think it'll look bad on a resume that you went to something else. I'm going to tell you a little secret here about jobs and about work. When we're done, when we leave, retire, quit, move on, whatever, guess what? They've got us replaced before we even get out the door. So don't think it's going to look bad, and do not stay loyal to a business or to a career that is not fulfilling to you, that is not supportive, because when the time comes for you to leave, they're going to be perfectly happy to wave goodbye to you and have somebody else come do your job. Take care of yourself, even if it means that you do a little job hopping as you are getting better jobs and moving into something that you like and enjoy better. A fifth limiting belief is, if I swap and go to a different job, I'll have to start all over at the bottom again. Generally, what's behind this limiting belief is that fear of losing salary or status. And while it's true that you might have to start at the bottom, my question is, so what? If you've moved into something that makes you happier, or that pays you better, or that gets you on a career path that you are more interested in, that's more fulfilling, who cares if you have to start at the bottom again? If you're there and you're happy, you'll move up, you'll learn what you need to do, you will not be at the bottom forever. And you started at the bottom of where you are now, so don't be afraid of making a positive change and starting at the bottom all over again. In fact, the bottom of the ladder is where we learn and grow the most, and where we learn all those important things that will help us to do better and to rise on that ladder. Belief number 6, and this is a hard one because I've dealt with it myself, and it's this fear that I'll be lonely if I leave all my work friends behind. Now, I'm just going to be real honest here. This one can be true. I've had 2 or 3 times in my career where I left a school or I left a building or something, and I left people who had become good friends behind. If we'd moved, then I didn't see them very much. If we were in a different building, our paths might cross occasionally, but not like they did when it was an everyday thing. And it's tough when you lose your work friends. For many of us, the people that we are friends with at work sometimes are the only real friends that we feel like we have. Life outside of work is busy, and it frequently is isolated, and so often our best friends are the people that we see and interact with every day at work. And therefore, we are legitimately, I might add, sometimes afraid of losing those friends. However, we also need to ask ourselves and really think about, how often do we see those work friends outside of work? Now, I've had situations where I made work friends and then we socialized outside of work. We saw each other a lot. We truly moved past the work friend stage and became honest-to-goodness friends. But sometimes those work friends are truly just work friends, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's good to have work friends, but you may not can count on them to then go with you or to stay friends with you once your paths aren't crossing every day. And that's okay too. That's a little bit the nature of life. People grow and they move on. They go to other places. And those other work friends, they've got busy lives as well. So that's where you just kind of have to enjoy the friendship that you had while you had it. Move on to a new place knowing that you'll make new work friends. And the ones that transitioned from work friend to true, honest to gosh friends, they'll still be with you. Okay, a seventh limiting belief is this one. I might not like the next job either. Well, that's true. You might not. It's always possible to leave one crummy job and land in another crummy job. Been there too. That new job may turn out to be just as distasteful and just as frustrating and aggravating as the job that you just escaped from. Sometimes it's just a chance that we have to take. But one thing is for sure, we already know we don't like this particular job we're already in, right? We know we're miserable. We know we don't like the work. We know we don't like what we're doing. So even if we end up not liking the next job, we at least have changed things a little bit, and that may help us to hone in and really get specific about what we want in the next job when we move on to the next one. So don't let fear that you won't like the next job keep you from leaving a job that's already just grinding your soul and making you miserable. Okay, limiting belief number 8. All jobs these days are horrible. Well, maybe, maybe not. Probably depends on where you are and who you ask and what you're doing and whether or not that particular job aligns somehow with you and what you value. But I would venture to say that not all jobs are horrible. Now, granted, some jobs are definitely better than others. The best ones are those that are in line with our skills, with our interest, with our talents, and line up with something that we really want to do and to pursue or who we want to become. But not every job is horrible. And the fear that that next job might just, be crummy is not a good reason to stay in a job that's already horrible. Take a chance. Change the scenery. Move to something different. Even if you land in another horrible job, like I said in another video, you're not stuck. You're not a tree. You're not planted in the ground. It's always possible to move on. So take a chance. And then belief number 9 is, I'm too old to move into something else. Well, unfortunately, I've got mixed news on this one. There can be some truth to this limiting belief because sometimes age discrimination happens. Well, okay, not just sometimes. Frequently, age discrimination happens, whether it's supposed to or should or not. The fact is that it does. And it seems like especially for us as women, there's some kind of vague age, and they don't tell us what it is, when we kind of get to the point that we're a little more invisible, and we may not be as easily hired as somebody who's younger than us. And I don't say that as a put down in any way, shape, or form, but age discrimination can be a real thing, and that can make it tough. But that fear of age discrimination, again, should not be something that keeps us trapped into something that makes us miserable. Hopefully, if you find the right place, the person who is interviewing and hiring and making that decision will see the skills that you have, the experience, the breadth of wisdom that you've got, and they will recognize the value that you are bringing to the table. And that will be more important to them than what number's written on a birth date. Here is one thing, though, that I feel pretty confident about. At a certain age, when you land another job, you can feel pretty confident that that person that hired you truly did have the confidence in your skills and your ability to do a good job. And then here's a final thought to leave you with. You're as young now as you're ever going to be. It's not like time goes by and the clock goes backwards. So if you're worried about age discrimination or being too old to move into something else, do yourself a favor. Quit waiting. You're not getting any younger. Take the chance to do it now. So, have you said any of those things to yourself? I have, I'll be honest. At one time or another, I've said all of those things to myself. I have let all of those things keep me constrained, and I have let them hold me back. But no more. As much as we may try to ignore the signs that we are stuck in a job we hate, and as many fears as we may have, even sometimes legitimate fears, we are worth taking a risk and changing our situation so that we can be happy either at another job or in a different type of career altogether. It makes a world of difference in our positive mental outlook and how we feel about ourselves. It helps tame that frenzy that can come from inside. So when was the last time you made a job change? Did you have any of these fears? If so, how did they work out for you?